I'm Phil Svitek, 360 creative coach, and recently I saw the documentary The Tinder Swindler, and I thought it'd be fun to discuss, use that as a jumping off point. And no, I don't want to talk about specifically, the events of The Tinder Swindler, but more so online dating as a generalization, right? And my perspectives on where we are at as a society and so forth, right? Now, before I fully dive into it, though, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes right when they come out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me, as I hope it does to you. So, let's get into this, right? The Tinder Swindler is a Netflix documentary, and in short, it's about this guy who went on Tinder and through a Ponzi scheme was able to funnel a lifestyle where it made him seem very rich. And, he would go on a date with a woman. He would initially pay, take her to an extravagant place, pay a lot of money for the date, pay for everything, and then eventually, it kind of went south from there because, the woman would fall in love with the guy. And, he pretended to be like this heir to a billion-dollar diamond company. And, because of that, he said there's a lot of danger involved and he just wanted, things to be safe. And, eventually it got to the point of like, hey, my enemies are after me, can you help me out type of thing. And, he essentially swindled, they say about $10 million from various women, through doing this, right? And the money he got from one woman, he used to pay for his lifestyle and go out on a date with another woman and just continue this thing, which is why it's a Ponzi scheme, right? And it got me thinking just about dating apps in general. Number one, I think the notion, love has been throughout all of human history, at least evidenced by art, this ideal, right? This romance is the best form of love. It's the greatest human connection and so forth. And that's noble and great, but in a way it's also kind of warped our minds because it's like a North Star in many ways, whether we intended it or not, that we seek. And because of that, we might lose on or not be aware of certain things. We might not, we might value that more when we could also be grateful for the friendships that we have. And, there's a great Charles Bukowski poem where there are worse things than being alone, but sometimes it takes decades to figure that out. And there's nothing worse than too late, right? I might have gotten a few words wrong, but that's pretty much how the poem goes. And yeah, he's right. There are worse things than being alone. And yet we over-index that aspect of it, and certainly shows like The Bachelor and other dating stuff have, The Bachelor and Bachelorette and so forth have kind of glamorized, what dating should be like, and it's like all aspects. Now with the advent of social media, we overconflate what being an artist looks like, what being an entrepreneur looks like, and what dating also looks like, and the type of guy you should date, right? And the lifestyles that we want. We have a parasocial relationship with, even if we know the person, through the screen, it becomes very hard to be to separate, oh, they went to this expensive place for dinner. I wish I had that. And look, they look so cute. You don't know the story behind that. And yet, we create the narrative in our mind of what we want. And so I don't fault, women essentially falling for the Tinder Swindler because, we all want this sort of fantasy. We've been groomed for this person. It doesn't have to be a guy and a girl, right? It can be the reverse, and it can be applied to anyone. Because we've been fed this idea and of not just love and romance in the highest ordeal, but lifestyles of the rich and famous, right? And we deserve that and so forth. And the sad truth is, I don't think you're going to find that on Tinder or Hinge or any of the dating apps. Like, I don't think billionaires, for the most part, like, are on those dating apps. I just don't, right? Whether guy, girl, any other gender. I just don't see it. So I would caution you to think about it that way. Also, I think it is also unhealthy because in a way we I'm not saying don't have standards, but I think we have fantasized, I don't know what the right term, but I'm just going to keep going with it, of who we think we should be dating. And in a way, we start to pick out the imperfections rather than look at, okay, what is this person really like? And we miss out on a lot of great people. And, one of the things I've been thinking about, like, people always ask me that are on dating apps, like, what's my adversity to them and why don't I like them? I think part of it is because of how shitty it makes you feel. If, from the experience of I'm swiping, and I'm going through it and let's say I'm taking the time to really, consider, okay, who do I think I could be a match with and who I could get along with, and so forth. So, that's already hard enough, but then, on the people that I might swipe right or give a like, whatever the hell, what's the percentage on that alone that someone's already going to respond to you, right? Probably low. And then from there, it's like, okay, then it's a lot of work to even have that conversation. You end up getting ghosted. And I just think in general, that has a negative self-esteem component to it, right? Like, that's not going to make you feel good. And I don't think people talk about that enough. And I'm not saying, like, listen, of course, like, to find someone worthwhile that you want to spend your life with, again, have standards and it takes time, right? I'm not saying that. But I just think, like with social media, there was this inherent thing that we knew, the insidious side of social media. I think the irony is I don't think we talk about the insidious side of dating. And of course, the Tinder Swindler is like just that amped up to the nth degree because it's someone taking advantage of, in this case, women, and abusing their emotions and ruining them financially. But even so, but even in the ideal, I think there's just a negative aspect to it, unfortunately. And I don't know. I grapple with this. It's not to say that I think dating apps don't have a place and that they don't work. But I'd be curious to know, like, and I thought about it, like, what it would be like if, just the old school way of, like, hey, I have this single friend that I think you would be good, and just through mutual connections, automatically, bring those together, because you at least have a commonality there that you can work off of, and there's a judgment call made by someone who thinks that you two would be good together, right? I don't know. And maybe that's lazy in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. But this is kind of what's been going through my mind as I think about the Tinder Swindler. And again, it's not really about the Tinder Swindler. It's about just the nature of dating in today's day and age. But yeah, I think part of it, it becomes too easy. The old school, like, if you had to go up to somebody and ask them out on a date, that built your confidence, right? Or like, if you're going to call something off, you had to, like, be direct with a person. Now just the idea of, like, just ghosting is too easy. And we do that because, yeah, it's easy for us, and we justify it under this notion that we don't want to hurt the person. But as I talked about, I think it ultimately has a greater net negative for ourselves and for the other person. So I don't, listen, and I'm putting this out there because I find it fascinating, and it's what I've been grappling with, and it is a topic I would love to explore further from a psychology standpoint. But also I'm curious from anecdotally, like, what your experience and what your thoughts are. I want to use this as a jumping off point for this sort of exploration of, however time it takes to really analyze it and assess it. But yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts and your opinions about all of this, whether you agree with me or not. I'm curious because I have, it's not to say I have seen dating apps work. There's someone I know and, they're in a relationship, I think 4 or 5 years at this point with somebody because of that. So, I don't know. But I just wanted to discuss it and thought it'd be something a little bit different in terms of what I normally talk about. So thank you for taking the time to join me. I appreciate you and hope to see you next time.